hot, bold, sweet, smooth, and always flavorful. Welcome to my morning coffee. 3 generations of successful women, brewed with black girl magic, and French press with class, sass, and style. Gia, Tonya, and Sarita are my morning coffee.
Monday, and welcome to another edition of My Morning Coffee with Tonya and Sarita. Where's she at? I don't know. Missing her, but Miss G is here, and we have a special guest for y'all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into what we get into, which is what is in your cup this Monday morning, and how are y'all doing? What have you been up to? Miss Gia?
Oh, good morning, everyone. I got some coffee in my cup. I need it today. I'm very tired. Been up all night.
I'm
just tired.
Are those some new specs you got on this morning?
Oh yeah, these are my new glasses. How you like them? I'm trying them out. And I picked them up on Saturday. Something different. But, I said, hell, what the hell? Let me go with something different. So they're fun. So I'm trying them out. They might make me look smarter. I don't know.
You were in Hollywood this weekend.
Yes, I was. That's what I was this weekend. I did the Hollywood Artisan Market on Sunday. So this is my second week doing it, and it's a new market to me. I don't know if it's a new market. I don't know if it's been going. I think it's been going on for a while. But the curator of the market contacted me on Instagram, got a hold of me a couple weeks ago, and invited me to be a part of the market. So I tried it out last week, and I did it again this week. So that's what I've been doing, just doing that kind of stuff. So I think I'm going to do that on a regular basis. The market is every Sunday from 11 to 4. So then they have local artisans there and stuff, selling their products and stuff. So the market is growing. It's a small market now, but it has potentials to grow and become a bigger market. So that's what I've been up to. That's it.
Hollywood, that's kind of fancy for you. You like being with the people, so
I know, but they my peoples too. You know me. I try to have everybody my people. So this is something new I'm getting into. New market I'm tapping into. So interesting. I haven't been in Hollywood, probably since I was a youngin', because I don't frequent that area because it's very touristy. But since COVID, there hasn't been much tourism going on. So the goal and the hope is that will come back, and then the market will flourish and more people will come. It's been kind of slow for the market, but because we've been in quarantine and people have been staying in the house. But I think as time goes on, people will get out more. And so my job is to, invite everybody out to the market, come check us out, shop local. There's a variety of vendors, all nationalities there. So, come support. Because that's what artists need. They need to support. It's a small market, and trying to get a brick and mortar to put your stuff in sometime is very expensive. So this is another avenue for local artists and small business owners that are trying to grow their business. They usually try to get involved in a marketplace and pop-ups and things like that. So I think it's exciting, be around a mixed group of people. And we become a family. But me, I'm always about the people. And I will I will be going live for my morning coffee there eventually. So, all of my morning coffee fans will be live there
in Hollywood. It does seem though, we stepped out a couple of times this weekend, that people are a little more comfortable in an outdoor setting than indoor. So it might actually be something, for people to check out. So make sure you leave that information on our page so that if the folks want to come check you out on Sunday, they got something to do.
Right, I will. Sure will. So what have you been up to?
Well, let me see. Trying to make a couple things happen. I have this little talk coming up next Monday with our officers of color, so that we can add a little more perspective and dimension to this national conversation that seems to be going on. It seems like, listening to everyone, we had the chief on from Redondo, and we've been continuously having these conversations in town halls. Sometimes I think we get caught up in these cliche terms and phrases that we forget to be on point with what we are trying to say. Exactly. So it's important, as much as Black Lives Matter, and nobody wants to hear Blue Lives Matter right now, Black lives that are blue lives matter. And we have to address that before we can come up with real solutions. On top of the fact that we've had some conversations about things that you've seen some of our people say, which just isn't okay. And I just think sometimes people forget that we have family members, friends, fraternity brothers, sorority sisters that are officers and law enforcement officials, and I never hear that being addressed. So it's definitely something I hope people tune in to next Monday. I'm glad you're going to be a part of it. And, for the most part, just continuing to have the conversation, educate, storytelling, and working sand and shores as much as I can to help people tell their story. That's it. Cool stuff, right? So, and I have coffee because I didn't sleep well either. Don't know what's going on. I've been working out. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I was a little sick last week. Had to go get a battery of tests done. I was in Kaiser for like 15 hours last Sunday. And my blood pressure, I think I lost Gia. Blood pressure was a little high. So I'm trying to, even though I work out regularly, I need to maintain my healthy eating habits because my margin of error for things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease is very limited based on hereditary traits, right? So I gotta take care of myself. All that being said, so glad you guys have tuned in. And now we get to find out a little bit about Mr. Joe Collins and what's in his cup this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joe Collins, congressional candidate for California's 43rd District and LA native. And in my cup, I have a herbal tea. Health is important. So ginseng. So that's what I got in my.
I'm sorry. Can you hold that cup up one more time? Are you sure that that's ginseng?
This is definitely ginseng. It's a ginseng tea. It's a cold tea. I'm not a fan of hot tea in the morning time because I work out in the mornings.
Okay.
So, cold tea always works for me.
So you know all about that healthy lifestyle.
You know what? I'm trying. I'm definitely trying. I just like the eating healthy and all of that. That's what I got to work on. God ain't finished with me yet. So,
Did you say you dislike eating healthy?
I said I like eating healthy.
Okay.
But God ain't finished with me yet.
Okay. Got that. So you work out in the mornings and you got your ginseng. You don't like hot tea. What else is going on with you?
Running for Congress. Served 13 and a half years in the U.S. Navy. Got out the end of 2017 and moved back to South LA, where I was born and raised, and decided to run for Congress because I feel like, our district is kind of being ran down. It's been ran down for a long time. I mean, we have a poor education, we have poor quality of jobs, and we need a lot more economic development in our communities and a lot more opportunities for the people who live here. And I think that as leaders, we have to start shaping the future generations that are coming up behind us. And the way we're going right now is not it. So I am, running for Congress to be that influence, to be that voice for the people of the 43rd District.
So talk to me a little bit more about the 43rd District, what that looks like, who you're challenging, and why you feel like you can bring change to the 43rd District.
So the 43rd District encompasses Inglewood, South LA, Watts, Westchester, Hawthorne, Torrance, Gardena, Lomita, Harbor City. And challenging Maxine Waters, who's the incumbent. She's been in office for well over 30 plus years. And the reason why I feel like I could bring change to the district is because not to sound ageist, but one, I'm younger, so I'm more connected with what's going on within the district. Two, with everything, change comes, things, get old and you need, new people, new leadership. And then just the culture of our society now, we need new leadership. We need younger people to stand up and start taking leadership roles in our communities and in our country. Um, and, I'm not the type of person, I'm a Republican, and a lot of people in the Democrat and in the district are Democrats and independents, but I feel like, political parties are personal perspectives, and you have to be willing to work with everyone to be able to affect change and bring opportunities and value back to the communities or whoever it is that you're fighting for. And that's one of the qualities that I'll bring to the district when it comes to leadership style.
What other leadership positions have you held in the past, if any? And what has kind of propelled you for this challenge?
Well, the military, I served 13 and a half years. So I've been in the military my whole adult life. And, even from the first day you get into the military up until you get out, whether you do 4 years or 44 years in the military, everything that you do in the military it teaches you a new style of leadership, whether it's leading people or having to come up with solutions to problems, having to mentor younger, for me, sailors or airmen. Even when I was a recruiter and I was changing people's lives by giving them an opportunity to have a career where they can retire, take care of their families, or just, get out of the situation that they're in. So, it's a lot of leadership styles that we've learned in the military that I look to bring towards back to LA.
So are you from LA?
I am born and raised in South Central.
Born and raised in South Central. Okay.
Yeah.
So you talked about you're a Republican, and most of us are, Democrats.
Yeah.
But you also you said something about, people get caught up in the party affiliation, and it's not really about the party. It's really about what the person, I guess, in office is going to do. Can you talk more about that? Because I think that's a lot of people. I'm not really a political person. I'm probably Tonya and my husband are probably the most political people that I know. I'm, not that just is something I never really, care much about. But being around them more, I'm getting more, I guess, into it and up to speed. But a lot of people, a lot of us are, we grew up or in Democratic, families, and for the most part and stuff, and always, that way. And then we, as you got older in your adult life, you find you're learning that more of your friends are not. You thought everybody was Democrats, but you see that all of them are not Democrats. Some of them are Republicans, and some of them are independents. So why the Republican Party? Why do you align yourself with the Republicans?
Well, whenever I joined the military, 18 years old, first time voting, my mentors would tell me, you vote for people who you like, who you think values identify with the same values as you, and you choose your political party based off the same values that you have. And so I had to go do research on the different political parties to find out which parties best aligned with my values. And so doing the history of the Republican Party, I found out, it was started by Black people, the anti-slavery party, the party of freedom, the party that you have an opportunity to build your business, build your wealth without the interference of the government. And those are something, that I like, especially being in the military with a lot of other influencers who are Republican. And so, then you look at the history of the Democratic Party, it was a party for slavery. It was a party that created Jim Crow laws, a party that created redlining, everything that kept people of color from being able to advance or being able to live what is considered the American dream. And so for me, it's an easy choice. So I'm going to go to Republican Party because from the history, I haven't seen anything that they've done to stop us from being able to advance outside of, providing opportunities. And when I look at the condition of LA, I see that LA been ran by Democrats for 60 years. And so I start to ask myself, well, what has the Democratic Party done to help people of color in America? And I could not think of one thing. And I know some people would say, well, they give you welfare. Well, welfare was terrible. Or they say, well, they signed the Civil Rights Act. And then you go back and you look at the history, every single Republican voted to have that bill passed, and you was split between the Democratic Party on signing the Civil Rights Bill, even though the president at the time was Democrat. And then everybody talks about the party switch, which is, in my opinion, is kind of asinine because in my opinion, the party didn't change. The only thing that changed is the way they played the game. They went from lynching and hanging Black people to paper genocide. You know, they create all type of laws that they use to hurt Black people or to keep people in the Black community down. And that wasn't something that I wanted to even align myself with, even if the party did change. From my opinion, it's like, you know, I ask people this all the time. Would you date someone who have AIDS? And they say, no, I would never date anyone who have AIDS. And I said, well, what if they go get cured and they come back and say, okay, I don't have AIDS anymore. Would you date me? And they still say no. And it's like, why? It's the thought of that person having AIDS and the possibility of it coming back still remains. And so that's how I look at the Democratic Party. But I know my grandmother's a Democrat, my mom's a Democrat. So, I mean, I respect their opinions as long as they vote for me, you know.
So what happens if, what happens if they don't vote for you?
It doesn't matter. I'm still going to win.
Okay. I'm just saying, you know, because, you know.
Thanksgiving could get a little awkward.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know, you ain't getting no.
Let me ask you this. I would be remiss if I didn't ask. You said the history of the Republican Party, the history of the Democratic Party. Maybe their goals and aspirations were one historically, just like law enforcement and policing was really to take care of the slaves and police the slaves. But of course, things have changed, and now you have faces of color that are officers. So through history and through time, things change, and it almost seems like things have, you know, gone in the wrong direction with the Republican Party. And I just want to lean on something like, you know, the gerrymandering and things that are going on in places like Atlanta and Kentucky. So for a organization that strives and says that they are for the people, but goes out of their way to make things difficult for the people, how do you align yourself with that when the people that they are actually leaving out are your people? And I'm have to ask this question because there's a lot of your people watching. So, you know, this is your opportunity to really explain, are you relying on the history of the party, or are you relying on the current status of the party? And how can you support something like that when in Kentucky, they've taken over 1,000 polling places down to 200 and only one in the Black community? So help me understand that.
Well, when it comes to gerrymandering, I mean, it happens all over the place. Even in South LA, we didn't have a lot of polling places. So the ability to try to suppress the vote for the Black community is prevalent across the entire United States. But one thing we have to ask ourselves is how many people are actually getting out to vote. I mean, we are very good at complaining about things, but we're not very good at coming up with solutions and enacting the change that we want to see. Even in California, Los Angeles 43rd district, we have a 26% voter turnout. So when people complain about voting, I'm just like, well, voting wouldn't be a problem if we had more people coming out to vote. I mean, you can look at states like Kentucky or Atlanta. You can look at Los Angeles or San Francisco. All the states have a low voter turnout. The only difference is those states in the South are ran by Republicans, and these states in the West are ran by Democrats. So they're all playing the same game. But it's not like I'm not relying on the history of the party. The history of the party is the reason why I joined the Republican Party. And I tell this to everybody. I didn't join the Republican Party to be a part of anybody's club. And I might be the most controversial, Black Republican that you ever meet, because I see a lot of other Black Republicans and they get called Uncle Tom or sellouts. And when I go back and I listen to what these people are saying, I'm like, yeah, you kind of are Uncle Tom or kind of are a sellout. And even, using the word Uncle Tom, because a lot of people use that in the wrong context, they should call them Sambos instead of Uncle Toms. Uncle Toms actually help Black people. And Sambos was the person who was trying to keep us down. But, in hindsight, I mean, when you look at LA, and I'm using LA because this is where I'm at, we have a conglomerate of, even if you wanted to be a Democrat and they were doing a great job, you had a conglomerate of Democrats, which makes passing laws in favor of anyone impossible. I mean, look at, AB 5, the ability for entrepreneurs to make money. It's completely gone. And then you look at the amount of taxes that we have here in California, is nothing that you can do about it because we have no balance, right? So, even if I want to be a Democrat, which I don't, I still think that me running as a Democrat would be, it will hurt our community more than help, because we would still have the same cycle of BS that we have going on right now. They always say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. Well, in California, we've been voting Republican, we've been voting Democrat for a very long time, and it's gotten us absolutely nowhere other than high cost of living, high taxes, taking away our ability to make money as an entrepreneur, made it harder for us to start businesses, and
So
over law creation.
so you're saying if we vote Republican, things like that would change. Is that what you're saying? Is that your?
You know, without saying it, I'm not saying that every single person that is a Republican is good, because people have a tendency to pervert things, but vote for a different person. You know, we can't keep voting for the same people to be in office for years and years and years at a time. And we just need something better. We deserve something better, you know, especially here in Los Angeles. Look at our city council members. We have opportunity zones all across Los Angeles, which allows the federal government to dump money into our cities, especially the inner cities, which hurts the most, but we can't even get that done because you see on the news, city council members are working with developers and they're getting paid off to give people certain deals, and these things are happening right up under our noses, but we think these are the greatest people in the entire universe, and they're really dirty and they don't care anything about us.
Well, no, we don't all think that the city council people are the greatest things since eternity, because they're not. And you know, that's a whole nother discussion on politicians and stuff. Yeah. So and what we think about y'all. No.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that are Democrats. I have a lot of friends that are independents. I have a few friends that are Republicans, but I like people with a great moral fiber, you know, or a great moral compass. That's who I want to vote for, regardless of Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter.
So why don't you just do independent then, just out of curiosity? What's keeping you from that? Is it a little financial backing, or what? Talk to me about why not independent. If your mindset is independent and you're all about making the decision that's best for you and your community and your family and your pocketbook, why not just do independent? There's more to it, Joe. Come on, man, tell the people.
Because the independents don't have a history of doing anything for anybody.
Why can't you change that? Are you not a change maker? Like, where are we at with this? Because I you know, your confidence was, man, it was like sky high, and I can see you feel like you can make a difference. So why wouldn't you be the thought leader in the independent party, since you know that you have what it takes to do the job, and it might be better received in the community in which you're trying to serve?
No, absolutely not. I'm gonna be the thought leader in the Republican Party because that's where we came from. So it's about getting back to where we came from. So, no respect, no disrespect to the independents, but that's not, they don't even support each other.
Like, it's not a thing. Okay, so let me tell you this. Real quick. I was with a company, not gonna give the name, but we were contracted by the Republican Party to basically provide a facelift, to do some research and do a facelift on them and their relationship with minority communities and women. Okay. This was towards the end of the Barack Obama administration. They were dead set on so acknowledging that they have work to do and ready to invest and do that work. And then they just decided they weren't going to do it anymore. And they're going to go the Trump way. He was leading the party, and whatever he wanted it to look like, they were going to let him shape it. Do you like what it looks like right now? And why do you think they pulled back on the facelift and the work that they needed to do with the minority community?
I don't like how the party looks right now. And the reason why is because when it comes to supporting people, people only want to support you when you fit their idea of what they think that you should be, right? So what I mean by that is even the president, he gets a lot of backlash when he signed laws into place like the criminal justice reform, or, you know, fully funding HBCUs for eternity, opportunity zones and things like this. Because, and this from my perspective, I see a lot of people always talk about helping the Black community. This is on both sides. They always talk about helping the Black communities, but I mean, when you look at things that they put in place, it never happens. No one ever does anything for us, and we're always left out. We're always left behind. Even the Democratic Party has turned their eyes away from the Black community and put their eyes directly on illegal immigrants. And it's just like, okay, so we have legal immigrants here. We have Hispanics here. You know, we have Latinos and Latinas here. We have Black people that are still here, that are still waiting for something. And then you have the Republican Party. You know, outside of Donald Trump, they always talk about things that they want to do, but when it comes to actually helping people in the Black community, it doesn't happen either. I mean, even from providing some type of economic opportunities that is specific for Black communities in inner cities, it doesn't happen. And I have, you know, I catch a lot of hell from Black Republicans who are considered mainstream because, you know, they make hundreds of thousands of dollars by talking about Democratic parties have failed the Black communities and yada, yada, yada. But every time you see a Black man get killed on TV, they're the first ones to criminalize every single person. And I'm just like, well, how can you do that after you just said these policies destroy our communities? But now you see the victim of these policies, and the first thing you want to do is criminalize them. Like, you just made a lot of money. So from my perspective on the Democrats or the Republican parties, nobody have a vested interest in seeing our communities thrive, which is why it's upon our young people to step up and start demanding things by getting into office. Like, protesting is good, but where are the laws that we want to pass, that we want to get into office, or where are the laws that we want to repeal that to stop from hurting the Black communities?
So let's get into specifics. Like what? What are some of the laws? What are some of the changes that you would like to implement day one you get in office? What are they?
The first thing I would like to do, what I've been working on right now, is creating a petition so we can repeal that 94 crime bill, HR 3355, because that's one of the main bills that I guess contribute to mass incarceration of Black people in inner cities. So that's one of the first things.
Explain what that is for the people.
HR, a lot of people ain't gonna like what I gotta say about it.
Well, let's hear
it. HR 3355 is Joe Biden's crime bill. Now, the crime bill allows for blanket warrants to be placed on entire communities. It allows for people in cities to get targeted by law enforcement for crimes that may or may not have happened because they may or may not look like somebody in some particular place that may or may not have done anything. And it calls for the mandatory minimums with no mandatory maximums. And it is just really unfair to people of color because it, in my opinion, it directly targets us. And this is the reason why we have a lot of the issues that we have going on right now in the Black communities. So that's one of the first things I would get rid of.
Well, first, I don't think a bill is a bill being passed is the reason why we as Black people get targeted. It has nothing to do with a bill, but you can go ahead with that. That's a personal thing. It has nothing to do because I don't went to the academy and they ain't told me about no bill or no law that told me to target my own people. So go ahead on, go on, finish up.
So that's one of the first things that I would do. I would definitely repeal that bill.
And what else? We're talking about your community and the people from your community are watching. So this is your opportunity to let them know, like, you want change, I can give you change. Speak.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the change? What's the change? What's the change you gonna give us in the community? Come on now, come with it.
It's about the community. So
let's start talking numbers then. We got a 77% high school graduation rate in our district, and we are ranked probably number 48 or 47 when it comes to education. So our education system needs a major overhaul, and this is something that nobody's talking about. They removed STEM programs and trades out of our high schools, and knowing that we only have a 22% college graduation rate, everybody who goes to college and says they go into college are not graduating college. So what are these people doing? Where are our jobs at? We have no economic development in our communities right now because we have so much taxes. When you overtax companies, it discourages companies from moving into our areas. And if you raise taxes, it moves companies out of our area. So now, not only do we have a bunch of people who didn't graduate high school, have no trades, have no STEM jobs or no opportunities, now they have no quality jobs so they can make a living for their family. So another thing that we have to start doing is we have to find out how we can either implement school choice or overhaul the education program. And we also need to bring STEM jobs, science, technology, engineering, and math back to our schools. I think that was something that Nipsey Hussle and another developer was working on before Nipsey Hussle was murdered.
So one of the great things about all you amazing politicians is you're easily stumped on this one, okay? We can all point out what needs to happen and what should happen. But what I want to hear is how you would make that happen. What are your suggestions and your action steps to making those things happen? Because we can sit around and we can point out what needs to be done all day. I moved to Southern California about, 7 years ago, and I'll explain this part to you. We moved here to Redondo Beach just because of the education system. My son played basketball. My husband moved out here first. He found Redondo based on, because we didn't know nothing about, the LA area, but based on school performance in the basketball program. That was 7 years ago. Nothing's changed, but I keep hearing, everybody keeps hearing about how bad LA schools are. So it's easy to point out the issues. What is the solution? What are you going to do? Because most people have heard this, right?
Yeah, you're right. And I agree with you, Tonya. Everybody does talk about the school system needs to be revamped, the education system, but I don't, to me, education starts first in the home. So if we're going to revamp the education system, we need to revamp some of these homes, because we can't put all responsibility on our teachers to teach our kids and educate our kids. Education starts at home. And some of the jobs that you're talking about that are lost or not there, well, a lot of that has to do with what we see in the media, and our kids are not wanting to go into these types of jobs because they want to make that fast money, because everybody I know is a producer or some in some kind of career like that, because they want that fast money. They don't understand that to get to where some of us are, you got to work somewhere, you got to have your longevity, put some time. But they see this fast money. They see these athletes, these entertainers and stuff. They, everybody's driving, a Maserati, a Porsche, all these kind of fast cars. This is what our kids are seeing. Okay, and these people, they're not talking about education. They're talking about, play basketball, make a rap song, and you're gonna have all this money. So I think, as parents, it starts in a home. Yeah, the education system does need some work, but it sounds like we always put everything on our teachers to teach our kids, educate our kids, and get our kids from point A to point B, and it's not all on the teachers.
Mm-hmm. But let me ask you a question, though. If we have no jobs and the parents who we want the education to start at home have to work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet, how can we start training our children at home if we have no jobs? We have no economic development. The cost of living is entirely too high. One thing that I've been pro on is, when I get into office, is suing the state of California to get back in line with the federal constitution when it comes to taxes, because we are absolutely overtaxed for everything. But economic development is also an issue in our communities, because along with economic development, we can put quality jobs so parents don't have to work all day and they can start taking care of their own children. So it's not a one size fits all problem, but we have to start somewhere. And I do hear a lot of politicians talk about the education this, education that, but they talk about it so they can continue to get in office and do absolutely nothing. But these are the politicians who've been voted into office 10, 20, 30 years, and they've gotten comfortable without doing anything, and they got comfortable with giving a lot of promises, and people have gotten comfortable with letting them off the hook on things like that. That's not something that I plan on doing, because I'm from South Central Los Angeles, like born and raised. Like, these people who are supporting me right now from the community are people who I went to high school with, are people who I started associated with since I've been back here, or even, the youngsters in a community who look up to me, who want to come to my office and talk to me. And these are people who I cannot let down. So these things are very important to me. I'm very passionate about it. And I know we have a lot of issues in our education department. We have a lot of issues within our community that needs to be fixed, but we have to be willing to fix it. And it seems like nobody is willing to even put an idea into action. And they dump money into the school system, but where's that money going? So we don't even have an oversight committee to find out why we have $4 billion budget for the school system, and the money is all going.
And our kids still are not passing. I understand that. I get you there. Good luck with that whole suing the state, because if you accomplish that and get these taxes lowered, I might look at you differently.
Okay, so we talked about the crime bill.
I'm gonna definitely do it.
So we talked about the crime bill. What else is on your purview?
The economic development. Economic development is one of the biggest things. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Like, our cities need an overhaul, like, period. Not just with the school system, but I mean our sewer systems, our transportation systems. And I've been supporting the organization, the Hidden Pioneers, to get STEM jobs back into our schools so we can get trade jobs, especially in the transportation industry, back into our communities. I mean, we have like the worst transportation ever, and they taxed us to build a high-speed rail, which we've never seen yet either. But
it's coming. It's coming. You haven't been on Crenshaw, have you?
Hopefully, yeah. I've seen the Mason. They put some railroad tracks down there.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's good. But we need more economic development in our communities. And gentrification, one of the biggest issues with economic development is people link it to gentrification, and gentrification moving people of color out of the inner cities, which is why economic development is important, because we need the jobs. So I ask people all the time, well, if you had the money to live through gentrification, would you live through gentrification? Like, yes, absolutely. So then we can agree that gentrification is not the problem. The lack of resources is a problem. And so we have to get those back into our communities, but it comes along with financial education as well. And that's something that we've lacked, thanks to, I want to say the banking system, but I don't want to put all that burden on the banking system to give us our financial literacy. But I am a big pro economic development type of guy. I want to rebuild South LA. I want to rebuild our houses. I want to bring more quality jobs, but I want people who live there to be able to afford to live there. And that's another thing that comes along with that one, is taking care of our senior citizens, because a lot of them cannot work. My grandmother is one of them. She's retired. So when you start to redevelop the community, it's like, okay, so what's going to happen to our seniors? So now we have to think about taking care of our seniors as well. But I think we should be able to take care of our seniors. Gavin Newsom created a bill to take care of illegal immigrants. I think we should be able to do the same thing to take care of our senior citizens. So economic development and every aspect is another thing that I want to affect changing in our communities.
So since you talked about rebuilding the community, economic development, are there any organizations that you do currently or would like to work with to get some of this stuff done? Because collaboration is huge for me. I love seeing organizations work together. We're better together. We are able to accomplish more together. And currently, it would be nice to hear you're working with some of these organizations that are already trying to do some of those things, or you have your eye on some of them, and now's a good time to talk to them if you are.
I've been in conversations with a few. I know the American Trade Association. They're really big on wanting to do some things. The transportation industry, like I said, the Hidden Pioneers, they're working with the Secretary of Transportation for the United States to try to get some type of development going on here. And I've had a lot of organizations reach out to me and ask me to help them co-sponsor projects, but I'm really worried about it because I see what happens with the city council members and how the money is traded back and forth through people. I don't want to get caught up in that type of corruption. So I think that when it comes to rebuilding the communities, we just have to let go of a lot of the organizations that have been trying to do things and try to create more organizations or bring in new organizations. So I'm really skeptical about working with our organizations that have been in the community for a very long time already, because if you've been here for a long time, that means you had the opportunity to do some things, and somewhere along the lines you failed, so you got to give it up and start over.
So you want some new organizations to come forward, and you're willing to entertain working with them, collaborating with them if they have the right platform.
Yeah, even with my campaign, I don't like working with experts because experts know too much and can't tell them anything. So I like to work with rookies, take some chances. Let's see what we can do together.
So you're not going to work with me? I'm an expert.
You know what? One thing that I was thinking about, and I was speaking to a lady named Sweet Alice about it, and another lady who created a program for the police department, is finding out a way that we can. And I don't know if the police department has it. I know I've been talking with Chief Moore, but finding a way so we can get some type of social training for rookie officers coming from out of the city. Mm-hmm. I was speaking to a few officers on the side of the freeway a couple days ago, and they were telling me, well, I'm from Fresno, or I'm from Arizona. They're from all these places, but they're not from South LA. And like they're rookies, and unless they've been in the military, they get really scared. They get really scared really quick because they don't really know the people who live in that area, and everyone to them looks like they could be a suspect or something. And
well,
so,
yeah, that's true. See, the thing with law enforcement, it's a great career. It's a lot of people in other states where their economic area is not as great as ours. They apply for jobs here in the law enforcement. They get them because the pay is good. They make good. So you're right. You have a lot of people that are in law enforcement that are not necessarily from Los Angeles. They're from other states, and a lot of people in the military. When they get out the military, we get a lot of people from the military too that come into law enforcement, and they're not familiar with the community. So learning the community is an important aspect in policing. I think it makes you a better police officer when you know the community that you're in. But again, I don't know how we can. That's something that we need to work on, and that could be a good program or a good thing to do is to offer some kind of training on community, because you're right. People come here, but people come here for other jobs too, and you can say the same thing in the private industry. You got people graduate, they get a job here in California doing whatever they do, and they go California or Los Angeles too, and so they have probably same biases and stuff law enforcement have. It's just in a different workplace.
Yeah, trying to figure out a way to rebuild the relationship between the law enforcement and the community is like one of my biggest things, especially when you talk about rebuilding, bringing new things in. Like, of course, the police department is going to be like key in ensuring that these things remain new, stay protected. People are protecting the community also. So if you have like that rift of distrust between the law enforcement and the community, man, it just makes it bad for everybody. And then you have what we have across the entire world right now is in my opinion is nonsense. Protest, but don't protest against the police department. Protest against whatever laws you feel is applicable to whatever issue that you have going on. And I think that's a better ideal, because hypothetically speaking, not this is going to happen. Defund the police departments, right? And the people who are talking about defunding the police departments are not even people from the inner cities. These are people from other states coming to protest in these cities. They defund the police department in our cities, especially like, Inglewood or South LA. What happens, right? Crime runs.
What does that look like?
Crime is everywhere. People, look at Chicago and Chicago and New York. They just had the 68 shootings in the last 2 days, which is ridiculous because, the police are not out there. They don't want the police in the streets anymore. Now you have, crime.
Right,
Luckily,
exactly.
You don't have that here, but
I agree with you on that aspect. People are so quick to say do something, but what does that look like? If you defund or you take, I understand you want money to go other places and stuff, but that's not how you fix a budget. You don't rob Peter to pay Paul, take from Peter to give to Paul, because all you're doing is creating another problem somewhere else. So again, what does that look like? We like I always say, community. The police need the community, and the community needs the police too. So. We're needed. No matter what people want to say about it, you need the police there.
Yeah. And another thing, to address the elephant in the room, because this is something I think about all the time when people are talking about, police killings and everything. And from my opinion, I ask myself, and I talk to a lot of people about it, and it's like, when do we take personal responsibility for like our own actions? Especially how we look, how we dress. If we want to be treated, they say fake it till you make it, right? So if you want to be a certain way, you act like that or you dress like that until you actually get there. Like I started wearing suits when I was in the military before I even got out the military. And, here I am in, running for office, and I wear suits almost every time I'm out the house. And I tell my teammates, I tell Robert and Major and the other guys, when we go places, I said, no, you got to wear a suit. And it's like, no, why you got to wear a suit? It's hot. Because we don't want to look like everybody else, right? If we're going into politics, we're going into a leadership position, we're going to be the role models, we're going to be the people who people look up to, we're going to wear suits. And that's just how we're going to do it. And we're going to act accordingly. We're going to act as if we have some sense. And I think that's a lot of people lose that sense, especially in our cities, because we have no real role models in politics to look up to. Like you said, our people, we look up to basketball players, NBA players, rappers, the Cardi B's and all these ignorant people who are not living the same lifestyle. They're not in the inner cities. They have their money there in the mansions, and you make ourselves look like a plum fool having that as our example, living out here, and we're not on the same, living scale or tier of lifestyle as these people. And so I think that we need to start acting accordingly, and we need to, as young men, start being role models in our own communities, and just put the foolishness away.
Joe, you had me. I was liking Joe for a minute, and now Joe, we're on appearance. Okay, so now we're on appearance. Now you messing with me, because I don't see skinheads and KKK laying out in the street getting knees to their necks. So I'm gonna need you to run that back real quick, because I'm not understanding of what you're saying. I know some of very intelligent men that might dress like a thug or a rapper, and I don't think that that's okay for anybody to target them for anything. I don't think it's okay for people out in the community to look at them and think anything of them than they are a human and they deserve respect as a human being. So as a dad or an uncle or a role model, if you want to role model how you should dress, that's fine. But if we're talking about police brutality, Joe, I don't know. I mean, you might have to fight.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, like, when you look at the culture that we live in, right? You have.
No, I don't. I got to push back on you. My son plays basketball. If he's coming home from school dressed like a basketball player, I don't want anybody looking at him like he is anything other than a man that deserves respect. Like, no, that's.
I understand that. But
that thought process is going to get us in trouble, and we're not going to progress if we start holding ourselves to a standard higher than everybody else.
You're right. And
we're talking about equality.
I absolutely understand. I think the biggest thing is you're talking about your son, and I'm a Black man who lived in America, who lives this every single day. So I think that the views that I have slightly different from the views that you have, because I've been harassed by the police.
But they don't, because however you choose.
Yes, it has to. The reason why is because I'm talking about Black men.
Every human, every person deserves to have a level of respect, dignity, and humanity. Absolutely. No matter, I don't even have the right, listen, if I saw somebody walking down the street that looked a little sketchy, that's my daughter's word now, everything is sketchy. If I cross the street, I'm making him feel like he's making me uncomfortable. He could be the president of an organization. I don't know that. So we're getting into a place now that takes us back.
Right. Nobody should be targeted because of how they're dressed or anything like that. And that's
we're talking about a job interview. Now we're talking about a job interview, and people are a lot more casual about that.
Nobody should be targeted, but it happens.
But it's not okay.
It
happens doesn't mean it's okay, and that it's okay for us. This is where we get in trouble. We can't continue to say that something that's not okay is okay and justified. So just like you're talking about the Democratic Party and some of the things that they've been doing, and it's not okay, it's your right, and it makes a lot of sense to point that out and say, this is not okay, we have to stop it. So with something like that, profiling based on appearance is not okay. It's not okay ever.
It's not, and I never said it was. Just like I never said anything was okay. But that's the culture that we live in. This is the society that we live in. So hold on, wait a minute. Wait. So because this is the society that we live in and we know what's going to happen, we need to act appropriately until we can affect some type of change. I mean, like, name somebody else who's saying something about it. Name somebody else who are putting laws in place to make that, like, profiling illegal. Profiling is definitely legal, but who is doing something to change this? Nobody is.
Why can't you? Joe, you want to be a leader, why can't you?
Okay,
that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, Joe, I get what Joe. I understand what you're saying, but again, we shouldn't be targeting anybody based on their appearance, their outer appearance. And that's the problem. That's the one problem today. We always are getting judged on what we look like and not who we are as a person. But the same way you're saying how we should dress accordingly, or you feel as though we should dress accordingly, well, you have non-Black people that are trying to emulate us and dress the way our young Black men are dressing, but they're not getting stopped and pulled over and harassed at the same rate as people of color are. That's the whole thing. It's like, should our guys be wearing their pants sagging? No, they probably shouldn't. Nobody likes that. It's not a good look. But you got white America walking around doing it too now. And nobody's, they're not pulling up to them, telling them to get on the ground, putting their knees to their back. So come on now. We shouldn't, don't say act accordingly and stuff, because that's a sore subject when it comes to black people. When you say act accordingly,
I'm a black man. I've been arrested by my parents for having a white beater and some jeans on.
Okay.
Even while I was in the military, while I was trying to protect my sailors.
Was that okay? Was that okay?
So it's not absolutely not okay. But until we can get some type of change, like what other options do we have?
Why would you? This is my question. Listen,
you're gonna fight back.
My question: Why would you run for a political position, a leadership position, and not be a part of the change? So now you're saying assimilate to keep from bad things happening, instead of saying this is an issue in our community. We need to fix it with better education for our officers and our community. That's a change maker to me.
If I was to run for political office sagging my jeans, would you vote for me?
Based on what you have to say, I don't know.
See what I'm saying?
Based on what you have to say, I don't know. I can't say I wouldn't.
When was the last time you voted for someone who sagged in their jeans?
Dude, people voted for Arnold Schwarzenegger, who
never sagged his jeans.
What are you talking about? He
was a movie star who never sagged. So the question is, like, if I sag my jeans and I dressed like a duck and I ran for office, would you or anybody else vote for me, or would you look at me as I was a joke? Barack Obama.
But no, I wouldn't look at you as you was it's based on your platform, what you're talking about. See, that's the problem.
I thought we got past that.
Yes, that's the problem. It's not about what your parents.
I thought we were past that.
Past what?
Assuming somebody is unqualified based on what they wear. But before we go, I want to ask you to tell the people a little bit more about yourself, your family life. Like, people will vote for people they get to know, like, and trust. So why don't you let us know a little bit more about Joe Collins, not Joe Collins for Congress.
Joe.
All right.
That's your grandma will call you.
She called me boy. Boy, get over here. So I grew up in 104th in Normandy. I was born at Kaiser Permanente. It's shut down right now. And I went to Horace Mann Middle School. I went to Century Park Elementary. I went to Horace Mann Middle School. And I went to King Drew whenever it first opened up. I was one of the first classes. Me and my older sister were one of the first classes to go to that school. My grandfather was a pastor. He had Ambassadors for Christ. It was his church on 104th in Normandy, right in South LA. And so a lot of pastors who are pastoring right now came up under my grandfather. He died in 2008. And our house was shot up in a drive-by, and our mom moved us to Texas like shortly after it was shot up. So I finished high school in Texas, right outside of Dallas in a town called Ferris. And I got my degree, I got my diploma from there, but I actually had to go to college to finish my high school because they wasn't trying to give me the classes that I needed to graduate. Texas is all about sports, and so they have a thing of like keeping Black students back a year so they can continue to play sports until they get a new class of sports, but I wasn't having it. So I went to college. I went to Cedar Valley College. I got my credits. I took them back to the school. They gave me a diploma, and I was working at Walmart, and then I joined the Navy. And I didn't join because I was patriotic. I joined because the recruiter came into Walmart. She was really pretty. Her name was Angela Martinez. And, at the ripe old age of 18, I was like talking to this lady. She gave me her number. She was like, let's go have lunch. Next thing I know, I was at boot camp.
No, you thought you was going on a date. I got boot camp.
Yeah, I was at boot camp. And I remember in the first 2 weeks, I was just thinking to myself, like, how did I get here? And I was so ready to go home, but everybody was feeling the same way I did, but all the guys wanted to be tough. So we was like, no, we're good. We don't miss home. And we were all homesick. But after a while, you got used to it. And then, served 13 and a half years in the U.S. Navy. I did a boots on the ground tour to Iraq. I recruited in Fort Worth, Texas. I ran the #1 recruiting station from 2012 to 2015. I got out at the end of 2017. I am a father. I have 4 children. I have 3 daughters and 1 son. And my oldest daughter is 13. And then I got twin daughters that are 9, and I have a son that's 9 as well. Just caught my daughter on TikTok trying to dance. Wasn't too happy about that. So we had to take her phone from her and get her off of all the social media. I didn't even know she had all the social media. The Facebook, I knew she had Snapchat because she would talk to me on Snapchat, but the TikTok and all the other stuff the kids be doing, had to get them off. And the reason why was because talking to some friends of mine that are in government, TikTok is one of the biggest ways children get wrapped up in the sex trafficking. So talking to the mom, we got rid of that immediately. Moved back to South Central when I got out the military, and we just opened up our office on Western. It's on 105th and Western, so feel free to come by and talk to me anytime you want to. Everybody, you can't miss the office. My face is on it. It's really big. What else? I still go to church. I go to church a lot. My church is Core Church in Irvine, but I associate with a lot of other churches around South LA, and I just like to pop up just to see the people who, the older people who knew me when I was a little boy, causing hell. My mom, she lives in Texas still. She's very proud. She's a school teacher, so I like to pop up on her when she's at school and surprise her and the faculty and staff. I have 2 sisters. I have an older sister, younger sister, and I have a younger half brother. And my younger sister, she just went on her honeymoon, so that was pretty amazing.
What was your job in the military? Like, what is your trade?
Oh, I was in the transportation industry.
So you're passionate about transportation.
I was a jet engine mechanic. I worked on the F-18 Super Hornets. I worked on the E-6 Mercury, which is like a Boeing 707, like a commercial airliner. I worked on helicopters. And I was a sexual assault and rape victim advocate also the last few years in the military, and a counselor when I was a recruiter. So
what is your path forward? Looking at the poll numbers, it's an uphill climb. So what is your path forward? What do the people that want to support you, where do they go to make sure they stay up to date on what's going on with Joe Collins?
Well, my website is joecollinsforcongress.com, and right now we're polling. We were polling at 73%. I think we're down to like 71.5% because we're running more numbers. So we're looking good in the polls. I think the biggest thing is everybody want change. They want new ideas. They want someone new in the district, but I think they want someone who they can identify with, someone who they can talk to, and someone who's a lot younger. So we're looking really good in this race. We're doing very well on fundraising, and it's pretty good.
What?
Oh, go ahead.
You keep talking about a lot younger. I don't know if I'm gonna take that kind of personal, Joe. Don't be trying to hate on us, that older people here, okay? I
love you guys because you guys actually vote. When I mean a lot younger, Auntie Maxine is like 82 years old. It's about time for her to go enjoy her family.
But I'll tell you something about Auntie Maxine, and you can, give me your thoughts. One thing that she has in common with Miss Gia is she's always with the people. I think in policing and government, there has been a lack of humanity in a lot of areas, right? There's a lack of compassion. There's a lack of a human connection. And that is the one thing that over the years she's been able to do with people that are younger. Like, she loves on the younger crowd. So I guess I really wanted to know your thoughts on that. And can the people expect to see you out with the people moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I respect everything that Maxine has done, especially for being a leader in politics. Being a person, the pioneer to allow Black women, Latinos, Asian women to get a foot in politics, have power the way they do, and to be able to affect change for their communities and for their ethnicity of people or race of people, whatever you want to call it. So I have a lot of respect for everything that she's done, and you can actually catch me in the streets all the time. I'm always somewhere. I just don't geotag my location, but when it comes to the rallies, I'm with the rallies with the people. I'm standing with the police. We have the meetings with the mayors. I'm all over the city.
What are some of your personal initiatives that you're going to be doing to help people get to know you better?
So we just signed a deal to get a radio show. So I'm going to have a live radio show, and it starts next week. And they wanted me to do it to where they couldn't call, but I'm like, no, we got to have the people be able to call into the radio show so they can talk to me personally. If you shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, I try to respond to all the messages. If there are events going on, I'll show up to the events. They have a lot of events going on in Lamert Park and at the parks in Torrance and everything. So just trying my best to get around. Once COVID-19 is up, we'll start having our town halls, our meet and greets and everything like that as well. So.
Very good. Well, make sure that you leave all of your info on the My Morning Coffee page, because there are people here that what you're saying resonates with, and they'll want to support you, and we want to make sure that they have all the information that they need. Make sure you let us know about your events, and you give people the opportunity to get to know you and your policies and your thoughts and your path forward. You know, they like to get involved. So I thank you for your time. Gia?
Oh, you can reach me at The Mahogany Box on Facebook and on Instagram.
Did you fall asleep? Like, what happened? Where'd you go right there?
No, I was gonna say something to Joe about his T-shirt, you know, and I was gonna.
Stand up, Joe. Let the people see.
Well, I was gonna do a little. I was gonna, you know, pull a funny, because you know I was gonna tell him that he didn't have to, you know, he could walk around and wear that shirt, and you know I wouldn't stop him or anything like that. You know, he'd have to have a suit on all the time. So.
I wear Superman shirts all the time. That was like a nickname that I got when I first got in the military, because I think
you missed what she was saying. You know, she's a cop.
Yeah, I know.
So I was just gonna say, you know,
you can wear what you want to. She won't stop you.
Wear what you want to wear.
I put a suit coat on with this shirt just to make sure.
You know, see, Joe, I'll be looking at you sideways now. I'm like, look, I need to see a T-shirt and some jeans every now and then. Okay, Joe.
Yes, ma'am. T-shirt.
All right.
Or even a wife beater. We're fine with it.
Wife beater every now and then. You know, let me know that you know you're from the neighborhood. You know.
You know what? Every time I wear a white beater, I end up working, and I just destroy the white shirt. I don't know. I end up doing field work for my grandmother in her garden, or working at the office. I destroy all white T-shirts, so I stick with a gray or dark color.
Okay.
Very good. Well,
they got gray and dark color wife beaters.
Okay.
Can't take her nowhere. Can't take her nowhere. Can't take her nowhere. Well, you guys, thank you for tuning in. If you have questions for Joe, you want to know more about his platform, you want to know how to get involved, definitely head on over to his page and follow what he has going on. I mean, he doesn't mind taking the tough questions. Really be prepared for some of the answers you might not like, but some of them you might. So it's important to continue the dialogue, and we hope that we see you back here in 2 weeks.
Sure.
On My Morning Coffee.
Bye.
God bless.